Hi all, it's James here, back again. How you doing? I hope all's well on this Friday afternoon. Welcome to the second of my live streams of Ask James. Rajdeep, where am I? I'm at home, mate. And this could go awry because I've just literally put the little one down to bed. And I don't know if he's going to stay there or not. There's every chance that he won't. If he doesn't, he's going to get up and I don't know what's going to happen. Sit here with me, maybe, in which case he'll want to fight the laptop. Just sharing the link on Twitter. That's done. Good afternoon, Edwin. How are you? Yeah, poor little fella. He's had conjunctivitis. He's not had the best week, to be honest. I don't know if you've ever had it. It's pretty contagious. Luckily, me and the wife haven't picked it up. I had it about 10 years ago. I remember seeing my dad in the hallway. This is when I used to go out on the piss nearly every day. I literally just walked past him and within hours, I had it. Nasty little thing. Doesn't hurt or anything. Just feels like your eyes are bleeding all the time. Anyway, that's not football or FPL at all. Just to run you through what we've done in terms of podcasts this week. So we did People's Poll on Monday. Christ, I can't even remember what that was about now. Main podcast Monday night, Tottenham on Tuesday, Wednesday, Sky. Thank you so much for everybody who's given feedback on the Sky podcast. I know a lot of you are in the chat probably aren't playing the Sky game. For those in the UK that are, it's not often I'll big up what we've done. I'm actually pretty proud of what we did with that podcast. I think it was really good. Yes, he's clashed the correspondence, Everton, Crystal Palace with Spirit Blues, McTavish. The YouTube video for that and the final plan from this morning could go live on YouTube during this live stream. So if you're bored of me and that comes up, by all means, crack on and watch those. The reason for the delay is poor Arjun or Mr. Manchild to you had a bit of a fender bender and it killed the day off for him yesterday, unfortunately, which is why there's been a bit of a delay on uploading of the last two podcasts onto YouTube. Right, let's get into the chat. Essentially, this doesn't work unless you ask questions, so let's get into them. Doesn't have to be FPL, can be football, doesn't have to be football, but let's try and keep it football related in some way. Trivia questions, love trivia questions. You got any football trivia you want to throw my way? Throw that in. Let's do this. So, good afternoon, Edwin. I hope you're well. Nasu, predictions for City West Ham game. Have a feeling it'll be a low scoring game. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. The fixture the last few years, Suj alluded to the beatings they've taken at the Olympic Stadium. But actually, games at the Etihad have been quite low scoring, 2-1, 1-0, I think, the last few years. You can't see West Ham getting anything. There's always a danger when, take the example of City on Sunday with no midweek game afterwards. There's always a danger, more so than I think, say, if they had Champions League on Wednesday, that they won't hold back. A pissed off team, get a couple of early goals, just go, no, we're going to tear you apart. So, no, I'd actually be inclined to think City will probably tear them a new one on Sunday, actually. Hi, Phil. Paul Coleman, afternoon all. Kill, are you focusing more on Sky over FPL this season? I wasn't. The honest answer is, Akil, that I am at the moment. The reason for that is essentially that the Sky game has basically an enforced wild card at this moment. So the wild card has to be played now. So in terms of trying to detail that and how I'm doing, that's my thought process. Plus, anybody who's listened to the final plan this morning, we pre-recorded that yesterday. I made my FPL transfers last night, and having said on the final plan that -4s don't suit me, although I wanted to be more aggressive in the second half of this season, I have taken another one. Mohamed Salah's in. So for me, I just couldn't take the chance of going into the Norwich fixture, not having 3 Liverpool players personally. And I think Salah is, or Mane, if he was to be fit, but it looks like he probably won't be. The rumoured news is that Mane's on a different break, this winter break they're having on. He's on a different timeline to everybody else. So the suggestion is they're probably more aiming for the Atletico Madrid fixture, which is 3 days after Norwich. I think that Salah is a better captaincy pick than any, in spite of what I just said about Man City. I think Salah is a better captaincy option this week, personally, than Manchester City options. De Bruyne would have been what I'd have been busting. It's what I'd have gone in. I wouldn't have tried to force in a Mahrez, etc. The anticipation with Mahrez is right. Sterling's out, so Mahrez will definitely start, won't he? except like when he puts Jesus on the left like he did at Villa with Aguero, and then plays Bernardo up front. Then on Aguero, does he go, nah, sorry, I'll go Bernardo, Mahrez and Jesus? There's no way of knowing, unfortunately, is there? So I think De Bruyne captaincy is okay. I think Salah is the standout. I think it's obviously so many people have moved that way. He's obviously the form player in the league as well, so I think a lot of people will go that way. So I've sold Sadio Mane, and the other transfer I made is I sold John Lundstrom, and I brought in Charlie Taylor of Burnley, who I'm going to start over Lascelles. Taylor's at Southampton. I'm going to start over Lascelles at Arsenal and Rico at Sheffield United. So straight in, yes, it's a little bit contradictory against my Danny Ings plan. Covers nicely for 28, having Lascelles and Taylor, because they both play each other. And Newcastle Burnley could well be a 0-0. Obviously, he's got a fixture game week 31. I'm sure at some point in this conversation we'll probably cover chip strategy. I think, having looked at it in even more detail from Monday night's podcast, whether Liverpool win or lose, I think I'll be free hitting in game week 34. That's the opinion I'm now sort of getting, having listened and done a bit more research on it. Paul Coleman, what plan? I don't know. Edwin, I have Rico, Kelly and Lundstrom. Which to get rid first? Who to replace with? I think the get rid first there is Martin Kelly at Crystal Palace. We had a good chat with McTavish on yesterday's Clash of the Correspondents. Joel Ward is certainly first choice, so don't see Martin Kelly getting back in that team. I think with Lundstrom, as I said on Final Plan this morning, if you bought very low, I wouldn't necessarily panic to get rid. You know, you could drop another 0.2 and you're losing out on 0.1 essentially. If you bought a 4, you're getting 4.5 now. If he goes 4.8 over the next couple of weeks, okay, you're still going to get 4.4 if it looks badly obvious. Alternatively, you could leave it and suddenly something happens and there's injuries and you've got an amazing FPL asset back available and already in your squad at cheaper than what anybody else can get. So I think if you bought really early, as long as you're okay with your other subs, I think hold Lundstrom personally. I wouldn't start him this weekend. I don't think he'll start. Afternoon, James. Dan, 76 Lord. Hello, Dan. How are you? Dan is one of a number of correspondents who will be attending Planet FPL Live 3 15 days from now in Manchester. I do need to speak to Suj after the stream because we haven't sorted hotels or anything yet. If you do still want to come to Planet FPL Live 3, there are some tickets left. We've already got enough capacity-wise where if nobody else bought a ticket, we'd be happy with the attendance we've got. But you can still buy tickets. If you go to my Twitter bio, there's a link, the Eventbrite link, with details of don't disturb James during Chelsea, Tottenham, that kind of thing. Phil, what do you think of the prospect of Messi leaving Barca at end of the season? I'm not going to answer that in too much detail, Phil, because it's going to be one of the poll options for Monday's People's Poll. It's an extraordinary situation. I think the gobsmacking news, to just summarise a little bit, is this suggestion that Messi can leave Barcelona on a free transfer. Do not kid yourself. If somebody pays Lionel Messi £1 million a week in wages over the next couple of years, they will make the money back in endorsements. It really will be a free transfer, essentially. How that would work out if, I don't know, say Abramovich thought he could come up with the money and paid Messi £800,000 more than any other squad player, for example. I think United or City would be the only options. There's a few suggestions about United online as well. I can't imagine Messi playing on the Solskjaer plays. But they reckon that the in between the lines that City won't want to go that far on the wages because of what I just said. You know, does De Bruyne go, well, I want 800, 900 grand a week? It does potentially open worms. Messi's 32. I'd give up my whole squad to get. I'd play Messi and 10 kids at Spurs. It'd be a great couple of years, wouldn't it? But yeah, it's going to be within the vote for People's Poll Monday, so I don't want to go into that in too much detail. Joe Finney Batter. Hi, James. Love listening to the Sky podcast with Jim yesterday. Thanks, Joe. Much appreciated. For those joining the chat now, as I said, yeah, we're really pleased with where I am with that. FPL, Lucky FPL. How much are you enjoying Sky and would you recommend it? I haven't played, but feel like I'm missing out. Anybody who's in the UK, I would strongly recommend playing the game. Strongly. I know we've got a number of listeners who obviously don't listen to the Wednesday podcast who are in the UK. That's absolutely fine. My take originally of Paul Jones at Sky Play and FPL was like, look, the way you strategize chips, everything, you should really play this game because it's a lot about strategy. he really recommended that I go and play the game. So pleased that I did. The biggest thing against it was I didn't want to have the impact of trying to think about two different fantasy teams at the same time. But it's quite easily manageable. My headspace is still normally 90% FPL. And once my FPL and all our podcasts is out of the way, then on a Friday night, I tend to give Sky my true foresight in terms of what I'm trying to do. But yeah, absolutely go and play it. For those outside the UK, unfortunately, you do have to have an account with Sky Bet. So you'd have to be in the UK, or I think it's Gibraltar or Malta is the only way that you could play the game, essentially. So apologies, which is also why I don't want to cover Sky too much on this particular stream. Sabisi1, who to bench, O'Connell or Stevens? How are you, James? I'm good, right? It does depend which Stevens. I presume you mean Jack Stevens of Southampton, who's been excellent for them yesterday. I was impressed with him and all of Southampton Wednesday night at Tottenham in the Cup replay. I think you've got to play O'Connell there, haven't you? I think Sheffield United home to Bournemouth, Southampton home to Burnley. More unpredictability about Burnley. Just a note on Bournemouth. I did mean this out on the podcast in the week, and it went by. There was a lot of togetherness with Bournemouth after the win after Villa. With obviously they finished the game with 10 men. Eddie Howe had the team on the pitch for a long time after the game. It was a mass sort of huddle, the sort of one you might see sometimes pre-game. This happened after game. So perhaps togetherness-wise, they're in a better place, Bournemouth. But I think go Sheffield United there, O'Connell. You have to relate to that as well. It might not just be a single answer. You know, if you've got Henderson, then I can understand maybe why you want to go Stevens rather than a double up, for example. I mean, if it's just a straight choice between those two and there's no other coverage, I would go for O'Connell. Tim Shannon, here's another great show, James. Thank you. My triple Liverpool saved me last week. Vardy has one game left, then he's getting shipped for Jimenez. I've gone Maddison to Son. Good idea for the upcoming games. Tim, you've made your deal with the devil, mate. You got to live with it. There's nothing wrong with those transfers, mate. Vardy's a really interesting one. As I kind of said in this stream last week on the pods, there's mass frustration at the moment. As a Vardy owner, I'm not particularly feeling it. Yeah, you can look at the next two and go Wolves away, Man City at home. Do you particularly foresee him returning? Not necessarily. But I certainly do want him in my team in game week 28 and 29 when they've got Norwich away and Aston Villa at home. He's also the sort of one that should Leicester, unlikely as it may seem, go out of the FA Cup 5th round where they may make some changes, then he would be an absolute lock for game week 31 as well, as unlikely as that seems at the moment. So I'm not really feeling the come off Vardy moment at the moment until probably at least after game week 29, that Villa fixture. And obviously, if they are blanking in 31, then by that point, we know what the fixtures will be in 31. We can start making hypothetical guesses about how 34 and 37 might look, although we won't factually get that information till after 31. So Vardy is certainly a hold for me till game week 29. Maddison, I understand more. Maddison's only had the one return against Newcastle, I think, since the 4-1 win at Villa in early December. That's frustrating. I did with my transfers this week to go Salah. One of the things the debate was going Maddison right down to a lower priced midfielder, and then the following week looking at perhaps Matt Doherty, for example, at Wolves. And it might be the sort of thing I still look for coming into next week. It could still be another -4. Not as fussed about Maddison, but I think Maddison's one. Looking at the shape of my teams, if you take me, I've got Vardy, Jimenez, Ings. The rest of my midfield is Salah, De Bruyne, KDB, Traore. Is there a chance I would leave Maddison out actually against Manchester City? Obviously, Traore has Norwich at home. I'm bust now with Maddison playing this game week with Traore sub. I know already how that's going to work. So if you've got Adama Traore, do make sure you start him, because this is the story of my FPL season at the moment. But yeah, and then the following week's obviously the blanks. If you take me, I've got De Bruyne, Grealish. Maddison's obviously playing, isn't he? Plus it's that Norwich fixture. Then it's Villa. So I think I'm most likely probably in the case with Maddison and Vardy that for me it will be see where I'm at following game week 29. Paul Coleman, thoughts on Fernandes? Which one? Jedson did really well when he came on the other night. I'm not convinced he's very good, but he had a little bit of energy into the game, showed a bit of fight. I'm going to do the same thing I did last week. Another Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is very difficult to judge on Wolverhampton Wanderers. and the way Wolves play and the way they want to sit off and the way they're happy to counter-attack on you. Let's see how he gets on at Chelsea. They've got Manchester City a couple of weeks after. Let's see how he looks in a few weeks. I think his FPL price is attractive. I don't necessarily think that even right now he's a better FPL prospect than, say, James Maddison at cheaper or others like Jack Grealish if you're coming down further. So it's just a watch and wait. He certainly played well against Wolves on Saturday, but I think it's the sort of game. Wolves are the sort of opposition where it's a good one to get a feel into the game. They'll let you have a little bit of time. They only press in certain areas and at certain times. So it wasn't surprising to see that he had plenty of long-range shots. Doesn't think twice about it. It wasn't a surprise to see how many passing moments he had in the game. I thought he was better when he went deeper in the second half of the game rather than 10, because then he had all of the game in front of him all the time. One to watch is my take on Fernandes. 35 Who, our Arsenal correspondent. How are you, Adam? Who do you think has been the most improved player in the Premier League this season? See, these are the sort of questions I like. Henderson, Moura, Leno and Kovacic up there. I'm very inclined to say one that Adam's mentioned there before I start thinking off the top of my head. I've been really impressed. He's had a quiet couple of weeks, but Kovacic this season, I think, has been outstanding for Chelsea. I think he's probably been very close to their best player. They always look better when he's in the team. Whereas I think when they made the move permanent in the summer, I was amongst a lot of people who were very, very surprised that he got brought in. But he's looked top player this year. I think Kovacic is a really, really good shout. I need to think beyond that. Danny Ings, maybe. Danny Ings is difficult because obviously the amount of injuries he's had. And I guess one you haven't mentioned there, we've already mentioned Adama Traore as well, who the ability was always there, but he's obviously now showing it. There's going to be some monster bids for him in the summer. Nigel Walters, I have Albert, KDB, Lundstrom and Grealish, who are obviously all going to be out of game week 28. Planning on benching 2 and using the transfer to get in a Liverpool defender. Worth a shot. Nigel, I wouldn't wait till game week 28 to get that done, mate. Get 3 Liverpool players into your team before they've won this league. I honestly think Liverpool will have this done before we get to game week 32, before they play at Manchester City. I think they may well win the title at Goodison on the Monday night in game week 30. Get it done. Rajdeep, hello James, how you doing? I'm good, Rajdeep. And yourself, James Wood. I know you hate goalkeeper moves, but what about Guaita for McCarthy this week? I hate it when it's for the sake of it. So I think like the frustration that people had with Nick Pope, you still got one of the cheapest goalkeepers in the game. This is a different one, I think, because in the case of Guaita to McCarthy there, we had on yesterday's Clash correspondence, Mctavius, our Palace correspondent, said if you've got Gator, get rid. He's in the know. That's his team. He's saying get rid. They haven't kept a clean sheet since very early December. I think there's a couple of times been a little unfortunate. And you're making a saving there of, say, 0.6 or 0.7, which you can then use elsewhere. And Southampton have a fantastic run of fixtures. We're saying Palace's fixtures over the next 5 are okay as well. They have an awful sort of April and May, Palace. So they'll want to pick up points soon. But yeah, I can understand that move, particularly if it's going to help you for something else as well. Joe Finley Bader on wildcard, thinking of going Mahrez over Son for the next 2 faults. Yeah, I'm all right with that. I think I've kind of done my opinion on Heung-min Son to death a little bit. The thing is, I keep saying he ain't playing well, and he's now scored 4 goals in a row. The first Spurs player to score in 4 games in a row since Heung-min Son last did it. He's capable of having these little streaks, isn't he? Yeah, I don't mind that. I think like Mahrez v Son is very much personal opinion. Just consider what maybe your exit strategy is, because you may want to swap that back the other way in a couple of weeks. Rajdeep, excuse me, City lost this weekend, as you probably know. Did they? I don't know anything about that, mate. Liverpool need just 6 more wins to wrap up league title. Do you think they will start resting players for Champions League? No, not yet. I think one of the reasons for that is obviously the Champions League spread over, it's staggered, so it's 3 weeks between first and second leg. So if Liverpool are going to go weak again at Chelsea in the FA Cup 5th round, essentially it's 2-3 midweeks in between the 2 legs for them to piss about what they want to do with it. So I imagine they'll go strong. I mean, Liverpool want to get this absolutely wrapped get through the Champions League, and then judge where they sit in April in terms of, do they want to give any priority to that record? I think the priority at that point would very much be to try and win the Champions League as well. I mean, if they end up winning this league unbeaten, finish on, I don't know, 106, 7, 8 points or something, and win the Champions League, at which point, like, there isn't an argument to throw back at them. Not that there is anyway, but that would, I think, if that's what they did, that would eclipse United's treble year, for example. It would eclipse Arsenal's 2004, City's 100 points. That at that point you would go, okay, right, that's phenomenal. Not that the other achievements aren't, but I think that's the point you'd go, this is the best ever. Liam H, what is your favourite moment at Spurs that you saw live? I did this on something a little while ago on the pod. I think it was Harry Kane's goal against Arsenal in a game we didn't win, which is so typical Spurs. Just the noise in the ground when he scored that goal, and for a couple of minutes we thought we were going to win the league. It was a special podcast. I think it might have been a Q&A special we did or something, and that's what I said as my answer. In terms of game, most people say the 5-1 against Arsenal in the semi-final 2008. I actually preferred the semi-final against the 5-1 against Chelsea in 2002. The Inter Milan night with Bale and all that, pretty incredible. For the moment, yeah, that Kane goal. Like, if you said go and relive a moment, yeah, it would be that. Put me in that moment again where I thought we were going to win the league from nowhere. Rob Pick, do you think you are being unfairly compared to Cole Pilkington? Maybe, Rob. If I went, do I look a bit more like Cole now? Rob thinks I look like Cole Pilkington. I don't have too much of a problem with that. I think I probably smile a lot more than Cole Pilkington maybe as well. But I can see it, the old hair. I am in need of a haircut. I do look a state at the moment. It's all right. I'm just, instead of an idiot abroad as the title of Monday's pod, you might have caught the link. It came from Rob, basically, an idiot abroad for Cole Pilkington and me being the idiot in FPL as I am. John on the not mod. Hi, mate. Don't put too many questions in, mate, because I'm going to struggle. John, not. Yeah, that one. So many people show up to the live events alone. Don't know many around me who play FPL. Yeah, John. Also, I've said this on the stream last week. Said it on the main pods. The biggest fear on the first one was like people come and they didn't know anyone. And trust me, I think the people who came on their own were the guys who had the best time. You will meet people who they're not necessarily going to become your best friends. But you can start putting faces to people you know on Twitter. It's really good when you're having down days and stuff. You've got people you feel you can talk to on Twitter as well. Football is a global language. It's not going to be so much a Planet FPL day. It's us watching the 12:30 game. It's doing the pod, doing the quiz, watching the 5:30 game. It's just football. And it's not like, the way I always put it to people is, it's not like you're out on a night out. Say you're out with your mate and he leaves you and you're at the bar on your own. You think, I was letting a pool tonight. And then you're on your own speaking to a girl and you don't know where to start the conversation. It's very simple when you're at Planet FPL Live. Hi, my name is, who do you support? It's just very easy to start a conversation and then you're up and running. John, please come. You'll have a great time. Dan, Kovacic for me, Adam, from what I've seen, finally Henderson is getting his plaudits, but in all honesty, he's been quality for us consistently for a few seasons now. That being said, he has stepped up. I think Jordan Henderson is probably going to, unless Mane or Salah have a particularly spectacular February to March period, I think Jordan Henderson's going to be winning player of the year this year. Rob again, no serious question. Need to start one of Soyuncu, Aurier or Traore? Absolutely no idea. Don't care, mate. Cole Pilkington doesn't care. Spirit Blues, buy tickets, people. Yes, sure. And you can catch up with Spirit Blues yesterday's Clash of the Correspondents podcast, which our dear friend Manchild should be uploading onto YouTube anytime now. Rob, seriously, so you want to start Soyuncu, Aurier or Traore? I would go Traore from that lot rather than Soyuncu away to Wolves and Aurier away to Villa. I'd go Traore. I wouldn't find that a difficult call, actually. I'd definitely go Traore, and I'll be leaving Traore on my bench for this game week. Sabisi, who's a bench, O'Connell or Stevens? Didn't we already have that one? I'm sure we did. I'd said go with O'Connell. Edwin Guan, I have Neil Maupay. I actually bought him last week for a useless -4. His starting place in jeopardy. I would play Neil Maupay if I earned him this week. A good fixture at home to Watford. I would not want to be anywhere near Brighton assets following that fixture. We covered this on a few different platforms recently about the major frustration, as much as I've complimented Brighton this season, is absolutely no idea who will play or in what system. And for me, that just makes me want to completely avoid them. You know, every time I look at Trossard, I think, I'm going to keep an eye on him this week, and then he's not playing. Really frustrating. So I think Brighton will avoid. That said, if you're on Maupay now, get something for your -4, Edwin, and I would play him tomorrow. FPL telling Josh, afternoon, James. Love the pod and streams. Yourself and Suj are my favourite pods to listen to. Not just FPL insights into footballing issues. England squad, Tottenham. Keep it up, lads. Thank you very much, Josh. John Bailey. Hi, James. Good luck for this game week. You too, John. Shamil, where's my £100 for the Jack Wilshere bet? Because I'm going to be giving Suj 50 at the end of this, aren't I? So if you give me 50 at Planet FPL Live 4 and give Suj £50, then everyone's happy. You need to pick 2 of these 3 to start. Who would you pick? Traore, Stevens, and Fleck. Traore, definitely. And I would probably go for Fleck. As much as I've praised on this morning's final plan, Southampton, I think, I tweeted after the game Wednesday night, I was like, I had no idea how they didn't win. I was listening to Lee from FPL Family on surgery yesterday, and he was saying how, until Liverpool scored the first goal, Southampton played as pretty much as well as anybody had at Anfield so far this season. And yet, Liverpool still absolutely blew them away. So we've praised them massively for, and it is Liverpool and Tottenham away, I get that. They've conceded 7 goals in those fixtures. They also may have a problem in the right-back area at the moment. It could be a debut for Cole Walker-Peters. I don't think James Ward-Prowse, although it's only a deep cut, I don't think he'll be back in time for the fixture. He could end up playing dance. So there's a few question marks that would make me go, yeah, I'm happy to leave the Southampton guy out, I think. They'll let you down. Having watched them Wednesday night, I would say they should, the way they've recovered from the 9-0 is amazing. Amazing. It's the quickest turnaround from a manager dead man walking that I can remember. They should be really pleased with what they've done. And from here on in, they should finish top half. The fantastic team. Nathan Redmond, I love him. He's such a good footballer. Just never equates to FPL returns. I'd have him at Spurs all day long. To answer your question, Shamil, I would leave Stevens out. John Bailey still guided. We lost to that Sun penalty. Yep. There you go, John. See everything that I just said, pal. Joe Finley. Oh, we lost you there, mate. Also considering Doherty over Bolly on wildcard, but Bolly just seems so cheap for what he offers. Yeah, I mean, the difference in price, I think, is 1.4, is it? I'd be very tempted to go with Bolly, I think. It's a bit of a BPS magnet. If I was wildcarding right now and had to make the choice between the two, I think I'd go Bolly. When I've said looking at Doherty, it was more my circumstance and moving the money, and I could afford Doherty. I think when you're on wildcard, if there's obvious ones there where you can make the cut, that 1.4 saving could really do you something somewhere else. Liam, have you decided if you're going to transfer Mane for Salah this week? Yes, Liam, I covered this right at the start, near enough. Yes, I have bought Mohamed Salah in. He will be my game week 26 captain. I've done it for a hit to remove Mane and John Lundstrom for Charlie Taylor, who I will also start, and Mohamed Salah. Nick George, is it time to ditch Lord Lundstrom? Man, this is a repetitive question, isn't it? Nick, dependent on circumstances, I think if you bought at a high price, yes. I think if you bought at a very low price, hold and seek further information. You could be in a position in a couple of weeks where you've got an amazing asset that is obviously also subject to whatever your bench is. If your bench is weak, then yes, still sell. I do not foresee him starting this weekend. Colin Con, and take a deep breath. You are amazing. And answer the next question. Colin Con, I am married. John, when do I bin Son? Bought him before City and got the 2 returns after. If you just bought, you're in a good position. As much as I keep saying, he's on a streak, isn't he? So the hold for a couple of weeks. We lose to Norwich in the cup, and I can see people. He ain't going to lose to Norwich. I'm telling you, mate. I wouldn't. Norwich will bring a team that plays with freedom, with no fear of relegation. If we rock up with a similar team to what we played against Southampton, we could go out. In which case, you are definitely going to want Son for West Ham in game week 31. So I think you might be carrying him at the moment. There's no direct move back to KDB either in the next couple of weeks. You're going to want. So if you're already on, it's hold. Chris tells. Thank you, mate. Yeah, good luck for the game week as well, pal. Krillroth, Traore transfer rumours going around 150 million Wolves value him to apparently. Surely ludicrous. Think Levy will cough up the dough. Oh, yeah. Levy 100% of 150 million there. I mentioned about getting him from Middlesbrough a couple of years ago, and people thought I was off my head. I'm still off my head. But yeah, 150 mil is... It won't take that much. But I think... There's no reason for Wolves, probably on a longer term contract, to be considering anything less than sort of 70, 80s. Wolves have got no need for money. They may well push for Champions League, be it through the Europa League, if not through a league position, if they qualify for Champions League, which I don't think is completely off the table, by the way, then he's not going anywhere. I think if they fail to qualify for Europe at all, and there's serious clubs willing to go, yeah, there's 80, 90, then he'll want to go. As much as Wolves fans will hate that, he'll want to go. The Athletic FPL at, hey James, happy Friday, bro. You too, mate. Akil, if you could only choose one of Traore, Redmond, or Harvey Barnes, which would you choose? Is that for a transfer, Akil, or for the game week? If it's for the game week, I would choose Harvey Barnes. If it's for a transfer, I'd choose Harvey Barnes. Lots of noises from reliable sources about Poch United in the summer. How do you think he'll do if it happens? I feel it will. That's from the Athletic FPL. I mentioned this on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. I said Mauricio Pochettino will be Manchester United manager next season. I'm fairly certain of that. I also said on that podcast that I think expect a slow start. It won't happen overnight for him because that squad's so shit. It will take a while for him to get his own players in and teach him a completely different brand of football. So I think you will find that if it happens, there'll be United fans in October going, what have we done? We've got to get rid. Be patient with it and it will bring some good times there. There's been rumours in the last couple of days of Atletico Madrid being interested. And if Simeone is going to move on, I could see that. That's a good fit, Atletico Madrid and Pochettino, actually. But I do think he'll be at United. And if he's given the time, which he should do, then he'll do great there. FPL telling Josh, thoughts on Redmond double up with Ings. Final plan this morning. I'm against it. I'm against going double Southampton attacking, even in spite of these fixtures. It might be historical thinking. Redmond obviously got what would have been 2 FPL assists on Wednesday night. Yeah, but it's only Spurs, isn't it? I wouldn't. I think Danny Ings is enough to carry you through. And don't forget, Danny Ings is still only owned by 27, 28% or so. He scores, you're winning. Sean, Spirit Blues, what midfielder would you buy under 7 million, not named Grealish, if you had to? I would probably go right down towards sort of Cantwell, Aaron Moy level. Traore is the obvious one, but I own Adama Traore. What price is Harvey Barnes? I can't quite remember. It's a good price. Is Redmond 6'2"? I think Redmond, if you haven't got Ings and decide you want to go that way, I think we compare Redmond and Ings price. Just get Danny Ings. So I'd be tempted to come right down away from the ones that you already mentioned there, Sean. I'm Dylan. Hey, James. Hello. I'm a notorious nerd. Worth bringing in Son for Grealish now for a hit. I have money in the bank. No. Not now is the answer to that, in my opinion. Game week 28, if you're in the same position, yes, it will be. And man, Dylan, would you captain Salah considering he can be subbed off early, approx 75 minutes, or Son versus Villa and on penalties? Yeah, people have been asking me for 6 weeks, who's on Spurs penalties? The player that I told you 6 weeks ago would be on penalties. Yeah, we've had one since, August or something, or September. Can't pick captains on penalties. Mohamed Salah's on penalties. So it kind of deflates the argument there, doesn't it? Assuming, obviously, if James Milner doesn't play, I get that. So, yeah, listen, Mohamed Salah for an hour against Norwich is very captainable. that if he gets dragged off early, it's because he's probably already done the damage. If he hasn't done the damage without Mane, he'll stay on the pitch, won't he? Salah all day long. Nasu, Taylor or Lascelles? I take it that's Charlie Taylor. So yeah, I'm starting Charlie Taylor. I've got both now. So yeah, I'll be starting Charlie Taylor. Happy to go that way. FPL, lucky FPL. If you could pick 3 top youngsters outside the Premier League to bring to your club to build around for the next decade, who would you go for? Money, no object, but no established names. Mbappe. Lucky FPL. Can I have a really big thing about that? I do like alternative questions. That one's quite detailed. Christ. The problem is, and this is the honest answer, I just don't watch enough foreign football. I like Julian Weigl at Dortmund. He's a bit older now. I don't even know how much he's been playing this year, but I know he's the sort of player that would work for Spurs in that area. It's the sort of player that we should be targeting. I guess you've got João Felix now, haven't you? There's a number of names. I'm not going to sit here and profess to be best in the knowledge of youngsters in European leagues at the moment. I absolutely am not currently. One thing I do want to do next year is get back to watching more European football. Planet FPL, the European Files, probably on a Saturday night starting in 2021. Don't hold me to that. Who am I? What do you think about Ali? Should I keep him for this game week or bring Mahrez in for him? Dele did well Wednesday night when he came on. He's obviously carrying some sort of injury. Don't see that having any effect on him playing at Aston Villa next weekend. Dele is so much better when he doesn't think about what he's doing, when he plays on impulse, as he did for basically both the goals that we scored on Wednesday night in the second half. I'd be very tempted to hold Dele Alli there. There could be an immediate gain in Mahrez. If you're absolutely certain you don't want Ali anymore, I think it's okay. If it was a case of buying all day long, I would say Mahrez, even in spite of that game with 28 blank, if that helps answer your question. Mark Bissoni, hey James, you are the hardest working FPL podder in the business. Where do you both get your energy from? It's all in the volcanoes, mate. And no, I haven't signed a sponsorship deal with Evian or anyone else as yet. It's probably, I imagine, something to do with no sleep. In June, I'm actually going to take some time off this year. I'll probably just stream on YouTube every day, European Championships and all that. Dave Pimpernel, would you give Pepe Newcastle or get rid for a hit? I'd get rid for a hit. Pepe's the sort of guy who I think if it had to be a -8 to get rid of, I'd get rid. James Wood, thanks, James. Good luck this week, especially for Sky. Thank you, James. You too. Switchburn. Hi, James. Do you think the Champions League format become a little bit stale and needs rework or something? Love the channel. Great question. Love that. Mentioned it a little bit on the stream we did last week that I think there will be a reformatting of the Champions League. I anticipate it's going to go back to 2 group stages, which I'm not a fan of. The thing I would do with the Champions League is probably make it 128 teams and drop all the balls in a fucking hat and draw them out. Let's go back to a knockout football. Sod it. But the big clubs want to be protected. No Real Madrid or Barcelona, who both went out of the Copa del Rey quarterfinals this week. None of them want to be in a position where, Real Madrid draw Juventus in the, round 1 of 9 of the Champions League and one of them's going to go out. Now they're too shit scared of each other. It will never happen. I think we'll end up with 2 group stages again. I think it will be bigger. I think it will eventually be 64 teams. They're starting this Europa League 2, aren't they? Not next season, but the season after. Games kicking off, I think it was 3:45 on a Thursday. Love that. All these clubs like Wolves, Sheffield United, I want to get in Europe. Yeah, you want 3:45 on a Thursday. Good luck with that. Sabisi one, this is a good differential team on wildcard to move up the rankings. 800k. Henderson, Robbo, T. I'm not doing Sabisi. Love you, mate. I'm not doing whole teams on this stream. This is fast. Chris Woods, James, do you think it's worth bringing in Aguero on a wild card for the next 2? Then moving to Vardy or just stick with Alba? I ain't got Alba, stick. 2 great home games coming up, aren't they? Newcastle, Everton. 2 sides. Newcastle were just about edging to safety. I think Everton believe that they can make a push towards the Europa League, but it's going to be a really big challenge for them. Don't necessarily travel great. Certainly can see goals in away games anyway. I think certainly, I'd hold Aubameyang. Rudy Ekfjord. Sorry if I butchered that, pal. You have KDB, Aguero, Salah, who to cap? Salah for me. If you've got the cojones to go Aguero, do it. Don't put anybody off. I just think Salah is safe as for me. So that's what I'll be doing. The Athletic, John Man, just get on it and come. It's going to be live. Basically, look at it like you're off to the pub to watch the footy and chat FPL. That's what it is. It will be quality. Well sold, young man, if you're young. Dave Pimpernel, would you rather win FA Cup and Josie stays for 2 years or get gubbed by Man City than a more attacking manager comes in? I'm not down with the lingo anymore, kids, so I'm not quite sure what gubbed is or if that's meant to be something else. Would I rather win the FA Cup and Josie stays for 2 years? I'll absolutely take the trophy. If I'm putting up with this, then I'll take the trophy. You said no, it's 2 years and there's an FA Cup, fine. Yeah, I'll take that. I ain't going to enjoy any of it other than the after the final whistle at Wembley of the final. But yeah, let's do that. It's Raw, so you have to give me a moment when I start speaking about him. Suddenly just clouds over, It's Raw 12G on my wildcard. Should I get Jack Stevens? Will probably be most of the time on my bench, or Charlie Taylor, who doesn't blank in game week 31. Well, if it's most of the time on your bench, let's hold the 0.2, right? Should we do 3 hits now? I really think so. We've got Wolves, Bournemouth. We've got Burnley, Watford. We will definitely have one more at least, which is likely to be Norwich against Everton, could be Tottenham against West Ham. There are a multitude of other games, such as Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, Newcastle versus Aston Villa, Southampton versus Arsenal, who it only takes one result to go one way, and suddenly those games are on. It's not unfeasible that all of a sudden we'll have 6 or 7 games in game week 31. I imagine we will most likely have 4. I think Liverpool will still go out. Yes, I think Tottenham will beat Norwich. So I think we'll have Norwich and Everton. And I think there's still a strong possibility Newcastle and Villa as well might be on, which would be 5. If you took me in that position, who's now got 3 Liverpool, 3 Wolves, Burnley now, 1 Newcastle, 1 Villa. What's that put me on? 8? Oh, and Rico, 9. What am I free hitting to? And then if it's no Liverpool, let's say it's just the 3 games I've mentioned, Norwich, Everton, Burnley, Watford, Wolves, Bournemouth. And I've already got Traore and Jimenez, and intention to probably get a 3rd Wolves defender anyway. What am I free hitting for? I'm not sure there's going to be a game. And there's no point predicting game week 34 because you ain't going to know it till at least the FA Cup draw quarterfinal. It's the only point you can start making educated guesses. In terms of what's postponed, you need to know the FA Cup quarterfinal games to know which game week 34 games will be postponed. You are not going to get the rearranged games till game week 30, before game week 32. Might not even be before game week 32. I remember last time this happened, it was a sweat. It was only about 2 or 3 days before game week 32 started that there was the announcement. Exactly the same of what those game week 34 rearranged games would be. So I think game week 34 fixes an immediate problem that you cannot plan for. You cannot plan for what you're going to want. There will be essentially 3 transfers to get there, because you're not going to carry one into 32 either. If you use your free hit in 31, you can't carry one. You're going to use a transfer in game week 31 almost certainly to get a player in, because unless you're lucky enough that you're sitting there on 11 already, why would you be concerned about your team? So really feel there are mass benefits now towards looking towards free hitting in game week 34. And if it turns out that it's really obvious and there's an amazing possible bench boost suddenly comes up in game week 34, we just wildcard in 32, 33 and we use that free hit in the last double instead. Right now, I can't see using the free hit in game week 31 is the shield, and using it in 34 is the sword, if you will. The term, I'm not a big fan of it, but the term that people like to use. And I think it's the more aggressive play. And for someone like me with a shit rank at the moment, I'd rather go for the more aggressive play. I don't think, say, if it's Wolves, Bournemouth, and the other two fixtures I said, everyone's captaining Jimenez. I've got him. What am I losing out on? So I would, if it's those three fixtures, honestly, I'd be happy to have 6 players or so. And just sack it off. I'm not bothered. Because as well, you can have 11. You still got to pick the right ones. So who are you picking from Burnley, Watford? Taylor, Chris Wood. Are you going to counter that with Ben Foster and Delafeu or Ismail Sarr? No, I'm not interested particularly. Chris Woods, what are your thoughts on bench boost in game week 29? Didn't see that coming. Plum home fixtures for Liverpool, Leicester, Wolves, Sheffield United, Southampton. Yes, I've seen a few people mentioning bench boosts in these periods. My take on this is that it should always be used in the biggest double game week. I would look at a game week 37 bench boost if I have 4 subs, like obviously, who are playing twice, and they all score me 2 points each, 16 points. And that would be my target from a bench boost. If you can look at those 4 subs and honestly tell me you will get more than 16 points, do it. It just needs 1 goal against those defensive sides, is essentially. You can say, oh, it's covering the whole bollocks. No. Let's do it properly. Pick your 4 weakest players. Who would they be? Would those 4 weakest players, if you were picking a team and you had to leave them as subs, would they get more than 16? If you can be certain and confident they'll get more than 16, I say, yeah, great, go for it. John Bailey, worth taking a -4 this week for Kelly to KWP. No, don't do that, John. No certainty that he'll play at all. No certainty at all. Edwin Grant, thank you, James, for the reply. I love you guys. Keep up the great work and have an amazing live show in Manchester. FPL bottler from Singapore. Thank you, Edwin. Enjoy Singapore. I hope everything's all right out there in Asia at the moment with the illness crisis and that. Notorious Nerd, when is the best game week to wildcard for those wanting to maximize their bench boost? To maximize it, it's game week 36. The argument, I know it. I can already feel some of you going, it's too late, yada, 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 yada. It might be. It might be. My position, and you have to remember, is so many people, when they explain their FPL opinions or thoughts, it's always going to be quite relatable to what their own team is at. As shit as my rank is, I'm quite happy with my FPL team at the moment. I wouldn't wreck it. If I wildcarded now, I would... There's a few changes being made for the sake of it. Like, yeah, I probably would take Maddison out, but I'm not bothered about owning him, for example. So to maximize that bench boost, if it's going to be in 37, it is game week 36. You got all the information as well in terms of how important the fixtures are or not. There's a lot of people do it 32. The last time this strategy happened, where we had the 34, where you're going to have a couple of blanks and a couple of doubles, I did that. I wildcarded in game week 32. As I said, I remember, that's why I remember the fixtures were so late in being announced. I wildcarded in game week 32. By the time I got to game week 37, I wanted a whole different team. It was too late. So yeah, I think to maximize the bench boost rather than maximizing the wild card should be as close as possible to the bench boost. It is, of course, absolutely okay to play it your way. Kiddos Emmanuel, hey man. Tom James, what's the best sites to use for stats on players in their last so many games, for example, shots in the box, etc.? I use Hub. I use Will Thomas's Fantasy Football Hub. Really great, straightforward, simplistic for that. Obviously, you can use other sites like Fix and Scout as well. I just, for me, who doesn't go too into detail with the statistics, I'm quite happy using Hub's platform. I can't say I've used Scout. I know it goes into incredible amounts of detail. If you just want to see simple things like most shots in the box for last 7 game weeks for something, give Hub your couple of quid for the month or so is fine. Will do you great. Kiddos Emmanuel, last week I sold Snodgrass for Traore for -4 and I'm still gutted. Yeah, if it helps, Emmanuel, I'm still gutted about what's happened to me the last couple of weeks. So I feel ya. I feel you. I'm not even saying it was a particularly bad move. You've just been unlucky there. You got Snodgrass in for the double game week, and then he's returned straight afterwards. Is probably what's happened there. I feel your pain. Shayna, how you doing? I'm all right, mate. Yeah, you can probably tell I'm okay. I guess the baby did go asleep. I forgot about that. Colin Con, I was just trying to give a break. I'm married to to take a deep breath, relax, and answer the next question. This one is for Suj. Pay James Moore. Sujan Shah. I deserve a pay rise, my friend. Nice. So does Suj, in fairness, but he does write his own checks. Nightcrawler. I got a leaky anus. Good for you. Do you have a napkin? Yeah. Do you want to pop round, mate? And I'll sort your ass problems out. Shano83. Thoughts on Maddison to Fleck? Although you will probably say keep Maddo because you said on main pod you keep in. Ha. Vish. Would you captain Son over Salah? No. Notorious Nerd. Do you think City can close the gap? Oh, no. Okay. I should have read the rest first. If they manage to sign Messi with rumours he can leave for free in the summer, and if he does come in, what FPL price and position will he be? If you want to hear my thoughts on that, Sunday after what's the Sunday afternoon game? Man City West Ham, straight after the full-time whistle. People's poll will go out for Monday's podcast. Lionel Messi will feature in that vote. Colin Con, I may have got moderated on, forgot to send. Game week 26, Traore v Fleck and Rico versus Dunk. Are you asking me to select, sir? From those, I would go Traore over Fleck, Dunk over Rico. Mark Bissoni, what is your favourite FPL pod apart from Planet and why? What a great question. I'm under pressure here, aren't I? My two favourites are Who Got the Assist and the FPL Surgery. Two completely different. Tom Cannell, Who Got the Assist, is someone I'd consider now as kind of become like an online friend. We obviously we've met up a couple of times. We did the joint pod together. He's a great bloke, and what I love about Tom and Nick is they approach it from such a completely different angle to me. And so in terms of what I need, my needs are and my weaknesses as an FPL manager, I probably need some of that data-driven stuff, because although everybody thinks I'd know football inside out, actually statistically, for me to hear it in my ears, not a bad thing. And I do love the way Jimmy, the Iceman and Bully do the surgery with the regular. They have fantastic guests on. Obviously, I had Lee from FPL Family on this week. Big fan of. So there's so many good ones out there. I tell you what I'd say is the biggest regret of doing so much content for us is I don't listen to enough of the others. And there are so many good FPL podcasts out there that I want to get in my ears and I can't. And most weeks now, I won't even listen to an FPL podcast. For example, this week, I've only listened to the surgery. Some weeks I can get 2 or 3 in. So I'm not going to lie, I tend to listen to the main ones like surgery. I've also been listening to a lot of the Hub podcasts lately because our Villa correspondent Adam Hopcroft's on there. So I really want to give him my support. And obviously they've started doing the Sky Pods on Sunday, that's a great podcast. So I've started listening to them as I've kind of been focusing more on the Sky game as well. And again, because that's where I need to improve my game. So that's my big regret on how much we do is I don't give enough time to other people's content. So there's probably some great smaller ones out there who I don't get the time to listen to. Like all the Wolfpack guys, they're all fantastic in this community, and I'd love to get on and really listen to them. And I can only blame myself that I haven't. I will, and it's something that I want to do. I may well on my holiday in the summer. I am actually going to take a holiday in June. During the group stage of the Euros, is actually listen to some FPL podcasts, even if they are old and out of date, to just go back and see who I like. Great question, Mark. Thank you. Kidis Emmanuel, which two should I start this week? Grealish, Traore, or Perez? Definitely Grealish, I would say from that. Just so much faith in Spurs at the moment. And I would probably go Traore, actually, just over Yosi Perez. I'm just going to go Maddison over Traore, I think. That's my toughest selection call. That's not obvious that earlier in the week, I had it bust with Maddison first sub, actually. I think it's just a little bit on Traore's injury, which I think he should be fine. His shoulder issues recurring. I think that's probably just about decided it for myself. So I would go Grealish and Traore. Who am I? Is Sidibe a hold for this week? Home to Palace, yeah. Absolutely. They're one of the poorest sides in the league offensively, Palace, aren't they? So, yeah, I think Sidibe is absolutely fine for this weekend. Beyond that, you might want to move. However, again, I won't rush it, man. They might become available in game week 31, and Sidibe could be a great asset. Again, consider your strategy when you're getting rid of someone like that. Same applies to Jack Grealish. So in between 28 and 29, I'm going to get a lot of information. So it's going to be interesting. So obviously Grealish and De Bruyne as examples, both blank in 28. But before 29, you're going to get some information on 31. That doesn't matter so much with De Bruyne, but in Grealish it does. Because again, if Newcastle and Villa's on in 31, who's the first asset you want from those two teams? I don't really care even if Newcastle are favourites in that game, which they will be. The first FPL asset I would want is Jack Grealish. So just bear those things in mind. BC1, do you think the criticism given to Martial is undeserved because with no style of play, no tactics and no movement off the ball, how is he supposed to do well? Even Messi would struggle in that team. It's a Messi play for Man United. People's poll Monday, mate. They'd be close to winning it. No jokes. He will turn this league upside down if he comes over here. You mentioned there, Sabisi, about lack of movement. That's Anthony Martial's fault. He is such a lazy prick. He always looks so depressed to me. I really shouldn't say that because maybe he is, in which case I feel bad for him. But he looks like he turns up some weeks and just saying, I'm not sure I can be bothered today. He just looks so unhappy all the time. There's been times this season where he has looked happy when he's I think when him, Rashford and James have all been that hit together. But no, I think a lot of Anthony Martial's issues come from Anthony Martial himself because Anthony Martial has extraordinary ability and I don't think really knows how to use it because trait-wise, I don't mean to compare the two players, but when he came over, you could see how people thought he might be like Henry Light, that kind of coming in off inside off the left. You could see that. But like what Henry had was desire. And that's what takes you to the top. I don't think Anthony Martial will ever have desire. Andrew Martin, afternoon, mate. Thank you, Andy, for your beautiful tweet that you sent out earlier. Last couple of days, I've been set on KDB captain, thinking against it because of the storm on Sunday. Am I being pathetic? Storm Kira, is on her way. So expect lots of wind this weekend is what we're told, which makes it just as well that Liverpool aren't playing this weekend because you know what would have happened there if they didn't win. Little silly Andy. I think if you're happy to go KDB, just go KDB. It's absolutely fine. Shano83, Maddo to Fleck helps me get Greenwood to Jimenez. So false. Yeah, don't mind that so much. I think Raul Jimenez is going to be a very good FPL asset in the next few weeks. I'm really pleased that I'm on him. I also have Maddison as well. But if I had to sell one, it'd certainly be selling Maddison before Jimenez. I can understand that move. Plus, moving off Greenwood coming into sort of blank season feels like a good idea. That's why I took a -4 to get Greenwood in before Burnley. I didn't take a -4 to reverse that straight away, which I said I would if I got it wrong and get to Jimenez. And that's exactly what I did. Colin Con, do you stop giving FPL wifey advice if she's about to pass you in FPL? Mate, let me tell you now that Planet FPL wifey is about 70 points ahead of me, and I will still give her advice. And she will still give me stick if I give her advice that is the incorrect advice. Your wife, Colin Con, is now 26 points behind. I still give an advice. I told her to 3 times Salah, idiot here, 3 times Mane. Yeah, I mean, I told her last week to go and buy Salah for Mane, and I didn't do it myself. So the only dickhead is me, isn't it? I mean, you can manipulate her. What I try and do is give her a little bit of information. She won't listen to the podcast, so I can insult her any way I like. I try and give her a little bit of information and point her in the right direction, and then she'll make her own decisions. She'll ask me about a player, and sometimes I might just go, no. Otherwise, I'll go, if you think that's best. That's generally how it works. When she bought Ogbono, I wasn't here to stop her. I was on my way home from work. FPL Nerd, Ings or Jimenez to transfer in next game week? Do you mean this game week or for game week 27? because I think to buy either of them is probably a better transfer now. If you're going directly on 27, Jimenez away to Spurs, I would probably fancy more. If Southampton got that game week, they are home to Villa. So 2 home games in a row, Southampton. I'd really want to force that now for Danny Ings, I think. Chris tells, glad you're giving yourself a break. The amount of dedication you said you put into the podcast, nothing short of admirable. It's just what we do, mate. How would people feel about Patreon generally? I'm just interested to know. Would you be like, you sold out? Or if we did have sponsorship from a gambling company, would we then be sells out if we didn't do it? Listen, I think anybody who's taking sponsorship to help put food on the table for their kids, they've absolutely got my blessing to crack on with it, whoever that sponsorship is. It's everybody's. One of the things we said on that people's poll when we talked about gambling was the idea it's by association. If you don't mind being associated with that company, then that's fine. Other people will perceive you however you want to be perceived. So, yeah, I ain't going to do this for free forever, am I? Or am I? I don't know. How would people think if it was, I don't know, $10 a month and the podcast other than the main one behind the wall? I don't know. Who am I? Would you guys make your content free? I didn't even see that. Would you guys make your content fully paid in the future? Please don't. Who am I? Listen, the main content will all, like the main podcast, me jumping on YouTube like this will always be, if I'm going to carry this on, if people like it enough, it's always going to be free. But yeah, at some point, me and Suj will have to sit down and think, okay, yeah, how many hours do we put into this with no reward? Like Planet FPL Live free, let me absolutely assure you, yes, there are tickets on sale. We will be losing money. We're doing it because it's for the crack, and we'll make a great weekend of it. But yeah, I think it's probably part of it as well. People keep saying, oh, look, James, you and Suj deserve it. Well, yeah, so I don't know, would people pay it? But like main podcast and that, no one's going to put everything behind the wall all of a sudden. I don't think anybody does that anyway, do they? Rudy Ekishford, swap Richarlison to Mahrez. Another one, Richarlison might become available 31. And Richarlison's interesting because he's one, unlike probably other Everton assets, where I think you can go, yeah, the fixtures don't matter so much. I spoke about this a lot on the Sky Pod in terms of, for me, in that game, I might be holding him for a while. Because he can score at Arsenal. He can score at Manchester United. I think they're at home to Manchester United, aren't they? Home or away? Home on March the 1st, yeah. Obviously got Liverpool as well. You probably think, okay, it's a blank. But like even in these tougher fixtures, Richarlison has proven that he can score. I think a lot come off over the December period. And then he scored consecutively, didn't lead Leicester away, Liverpool away. So Richarlison's one. Interesting. Could be a really nice differential potentially as well. And they also had a really good run a little bit later in the season last year, again, when they're difficult fixtures, where they had that amazing run of clean sheets at Goodison Park. Colin Connor, I listen to 12 podcasts a week, but the noise cancels out all the opinions. Well, if you're listening to too much, the advice is to listen to less. So people have said to me before, it's too much content. I can't listen to it all. That's absolutely fine. Like pick and choose what you want. Doesn't even have to be us. If there's too much noise, honestly, listen to less podcasts. FPL winner, start Shane Long or Martinelli. Hashtag life and death here, mate. Buena, I would definitely start Martinelli, mate. I think oddly enough, it's probably more security on the start as well. Southampton obviously got Omafemi. They've got Che Adams is available as well. You might even change that a little bit with sort of Buffal, Redmond, Gineppo. No, I would go Martinelli, actually. How have you ended up in a position where those are two of your free forwards? That's interesting. FPL Net game week 27. I presume that was for the earlier Jimenez or Ings. I'd be very, very interested in taking the -4 for Danny Ings now. Actually, if that's what you're thinking, is give that some thought. Otherwise, yeah, on that game week, Ings at home to Villa, even though it's at Spurs. Yeah, Ings at home to Villa or or Jimenez at Spurs. Ings obviously makes more sense there. T-Tac, who have you got for the UCL? As in, who do I think will win it? I think Liverpool. You can have the league wrapped up. I think the Atletico Madrid tie is tough. The sort of team who could really give Liverpool some problems in terms of their experience in this competition. Also got kind of re-energized the team a little bit since Griezmann's moved on. I think, Liverpool. There's nobody better than Liverpool at the moment. I do think Man City will beat Real Madrid, by the way. It won't be Spurs. FPL Buena preface have just brought Long in. DCL plus more play to Ings and Long for a hit. Bloody hell. Well, if you... That's a cracker, that is. If you brought him in for a hit, you got to play him, haven't you? What? I mean, that's left. That's really left. If you brought him in for a hit, I presume you brought him in for a hit with the intention to play him. Why wouldn't you? Wow, 2 Southampton strikers. They've got a great run of fixtures. I just think Long will get rotated. I don't think he's a lock as Ings' partner, but there you go. Colin Carr, I bought you beers. Patreon would have been cheaper. Very cheap. Mickey Robbo, you got any idea when to use your chips? Mickey Robbo, I got loads of ideas to when to use my chips, mate. Yes, for me, I am most likely free hit, game week 34, wild card 36, bench boost 37. Mickey, please have a jump back so I'm not repeating myself all over again. Or go to my Twitter, pin tweet at Planet FPL Pod and jump to roundabouts right on the hour mark for a little bit, sort of 10-15 minute discussion on chip strategy there as well. But I've kind of covered it off on this stream as well, Mickey. Mebu Khan, should I sell De Bruyne for Son? No. I don't mean that cold. It's another one we've already covered. Dave Pimpernel, don't mind people charging for quality content, but all the ones are jumping on Patreon just because they've had a few good ranks. Fuck that. Well, I tell you what, Dave, we certainly wouldn't be jumping on Patreon because of a few good ranks. Quite the opposite. We'd be doing it for the content. So if it's something we did, there's no reasons to do it. No one's going to be sitting there going, yeah, look at my ranks. I mean, I think that rank I had 3 years ago, 21k I finished. And I was fucking 8k going into game week 7 as well. But I wouldn't have Spurs assets at the time. And then Harry Kane and Son went mental, amongst others. I think that's going to be very hard to beat again. I just think you've got to have so many fortuitous things. Like, I mean, Sam at Lee's other half from FPL Family, she in the top 1,000 at the moment. Unbelievable rank. She's murdering it, and good luck to her. Do look at like Snodgrass's deflected goals last week. You think, oh, that helps, and then you get the luck of, say, for myself with the Mane triple captain, not to take anything away from the guys with the good ranks, but it's beginning to feel, because the more people like ourselves and all other the brilliant content creators keep putting out there, the more informed people are. Whether they're being informed from people like us, who through the podcast content, it just gives people a better analysis, perhaps my tactical structure, the way I look at games that way, or if people are picking up, statistically, it's so much more information out there, even from when we started this 2.5 years ago. So, and that information is only going to grow, isn't it? In terms of Scout, I've got all their team of different people doing different things now. So easy for anybody to get information to make decisive decisions about FPL. And yet after all that, I might still make a gut decision in terms of what I'm doing with the way I play the game. I think the idea of top 20k, for example, used to be a very, very good rank. It's now a fantastic rank. Game is getting harder, and the game is going to keep getting harder. One of the things I think is making it harder is for the more detailed players is the pricing. Too many players accessible. There isn't really a single player in FPL this year who's been good, who you would go, I absolutely can't go near that. No one. Even if you had someone who's been shit all year, like Ozil, say Ozil suddenly went to peak Ozil, he's gettable like that. There isn't a player out there who's not gettable. If you want to have Mane and Salah in your team, it's really easy. If you want to have Trent, Robert, and VVD together, it's really easy. There's so many options. I think one of the reasons for that is partly as well that although Aubameyang's had a good season, Aguero obviously has his moments, you get things like Kane's injury, etc. There hasn't been too many of the premium forwards who, I mean, Firmino recently has been a good asset, but he's still owned by under 20%, for example, in spite of that amazing run of fixtures they had. Aubameyang's ownership is still not particularly massive. Jamie Vardy's price is now on the decrease. There's no player in the game that's not accessible. I would make the pricing, and people will hate this, I would make the pricing so much higher. Like next season for me, Trent would be 9 million. That's at the point where I would go, I have a decision to make. Because if Trent's 8.5 million game week 1 next season, I'm buying him. I really, really don't care. So the best way to make the game harder for others, actually, for those of us paying attention, is to make the pricing higher. So next year, I have no problem with game week 1 next year, Mane and Salah being 13.5, 14 million. And then you're in a position where you probably can't have both. And then people have to start making decisions, for example. So, yeah, that's the first thing I would do, is increase the pricing. But they're far more interested in keeping everybody's interest, which I understand from their platform. And therefore, you're probably more likely to see cheaper prices than what you'd expect than higher. Let's catch up in the chat. I do love a good rant, mate. Bear us a moment, kids. I just don't want to particularly miss anybody out at the moment. Ace Adventure, yeah, just put him in with that logic. Not sure who that is, but good luck. Christopher Guinness, love the shows, mate. Did you get Salah and captain him? Yes, I have. Covered kind of right at the start of the stream for a minus, obviously. Did it late last night. FPL Buena, midfield of Son, Mane, Salah, KDB, and Mahrez. See, these guys are all gettable, right? The midfield is phenomenal. Attack of Ings, Long, Martinelli, pretty crappy team value, to be fair. No, it's fine, mate. Good luck. Get on with it. I'm kind of interested now to know what your backline is. So you that shit for defenders this week with some good fixtures as well. Chris Wu, Planet FPL Slack channel would be great. A few people have mentioned that. I think one of the things for me is I don't want to manage it. I can't be bothered to moderate it. That's the honest answer. So, yeah, it's something we might look at over the summer. One thing is for certain, things will change again over the summer for next season. There'll be things that will be different. It might be more content. I don't know how yet, but it might be. A number of 10 has been mentioned by me personally, at which point, yeah, you're fucking paying for some of it. Rudy, I follow your podcast every time I live in Norway. Oh, brilliant. If we got listeners in Norway where the water is obviously of a higher caliber than England, then that's brilliant. Nobody here creates content, so I follow you guys in FPL family. Sam and Lee are great as well. What do you think about the Norwegian players in Premier League? Exactly that, Rudy. Like something in your water, obviously. I don't think it's just Norway, actually. I think Scandinavian players just generally. There's that area of Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, and that, you know, they're so passionate about the Premier League. They probably watch more of it than a lot of UK-based people, so not particularly surprising. Colin Con, has FPL merch given you free? Don't FPL and drink glass. No, it's a statement I've used before, though, I'm sure. Chap FPL, James, have you considered trying out for coaching badges? No, I haven't got the time. I'm podcasting too much. I'm too late now, probably. It's also, I'll be honest, chap, it's not cheap to like do all your coaching stuff. Yeah, it's something I thought about. Friend Aaron Boyle, we've met a couple of the meets up. As an Arsenal fan, he's just got his I forget what level, but he's qualified coach now. Might have been B license or A license. I can't remember. Something really good though. He's just passed everything off. It's not cheap to do. Now I've got a kid sleeping in there, and someone's got to pay the bills. And then there's time. I go and do my. Would you want? Do you want me to go and be a coach at like Enfield Town, or do you want podcasts? So I think for me to do the coaching thing, it would be a complete restructure of my life that I can't afford at the moment. Dave Pimpernel, yeah, it wasn't aimed at you. All right, cool, Dave. James Bang, you are the best FPL expert on football analysis. Thanks for the great content. I don't necessarily subscribe to that thought, James, but I thank you and others for the comment. I think I just approach things in a very different way to others that I think people appreciate. Ace Adventura, I think a lot of people have multiple teams too. Maybe people make several and keep the best. Potential issue there. On multiple teams, we talked about like the number of players and stuff. Yeah, I've got 3 teams. Obviously managed by like my son's email account, my dad's email account, my email account, Suj's dog's email account. But it's the differential team, and it's the zombie dead team that hasn't been touched all year, and obviously the north and south teams. So in terms of a main team, no, there's only, and it's genuine, there is only one team via my personal email account. Brendan01, hi James, have 1 FT and nothing in the bank. Lundstrom to Egan, worth it, or just take my oil this week and use 2 FTs next week? What's coming in, Brendan's important. So are you starting Lundstrom, or if you're not, who are you playing instead? I presume if you went to Egan, you would buy. I see a few people going for Egan, Basham. I'd rather pay a little bit more for O'Connell personally. I'm not convinced that they're anything, Egan particularly. I'm not convinced if he's definitely scoring this weekend. I'm not convinced if he's anything other than good, solid, 4.5. Very unlikely to get anything in terms of returns or bonus as such. Really dependent, Brendan, I mentioned this earlier in the stream. What price did you buy at? If you bought really early, I think I'd, as you put it, take your oil and wait a little bit. Or no, I suppose if you're taking the oil, you want the money, don't you? If you bought really early, I'd probably wait. Just a little bit of information. What you'll lose out on won't be as bad as what you may be if you're on the other side and you suddenly think, sugar, I want to get him back. Right, I'll start going through these a bit quicker and we'll wrap this up, guys. Jeff McGregor, Kyle Walker-Peters, not for me. No, I'd go Jack Stevens at the same price, 4.4 at Southampton. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm not convinced it'll even start against Burnley next weekend. FPL Nerd, what price would be too expensive for Messi if he was in FPL? 20 million. FPL Buena, Trent, Holgate, Lundy, bench, Lascelles. Will it cut? Do you know what? I just want to go back and clarify that on Messi. Yeah, 20 million. We'll all be captaining him every week anyway. So what does it matter? Like, seriously. If he's 17 million, I've got him at 8.5 twice over every week. That's fine. FPL Buena, Trent, Holgate, Lundy, bench, Lascelles, Williams. Pretty bargain basement. Yeah, it's okay. Those picks aren't too bad, though, actually. Keep an eye on, just for yourself, where you're potentially looking in upcoming weeks. But obviously for this weekend, Trent Holgate's fine. You obviously look like you're going to take the gamble of playing Lundstrom, which I think with Williams unlikely to play and Lascelles at Arsenal, it's a rare case where it might be worth it, but I expect that to be a 1-pointer, mate. Jeff McGregor, JWP or KWP, both playing for Southampton. They basically have the same name. The answer is neither. As said, not sure if KWP will start. And JWP with his gash injury, which we in the stadium at Tottenham on Wednesday thought was a lot worse at the time in terms of, you could tell players' reactions, but it was obviously just the sight of his bone. Remember, if it's a really deep cut, there's obviously no serious ligament or tendon injury or anything like that, so he's fine. Fitness won't be a problem. The problem is, like, the stitches have got to heal, and there's nothing you can do to particularly make that happen any quicker. And it really is completely dependent on how bad that cut is. So I had a couple of scars, one on my head, which some of you right there, you probably can't see it on the foggy stream, but you might see it on some of the YouTube vids. I've also got a scar here on my arm. Both for them in terms of physical activity would have been a week at least. It really depends how deep that cut is. So the answer, unfortunately, Jeff, would be neither. If you're going in at that area, I mean, I've already said my opinion. I wouldn't go further than Ings. And if you haven't got Ings, go Ings. James Bang, do you have a preferred formation, James, or does it depend on fixtures, injuries, form, etc.? I will assume, James, that is an FPL question. The answer to that is no. Be prepared to be absolutely flexible. That is circumstance. This year's 4-3-3 might be 5-3-2 next year, for example. Jeff, McGregor, Firmino, or Vardy? Firmino and then to Vardy. If that's something that can work for you, I quite like. Yeah, it's probably a move in terms of you maybe already come off Mane and might only have the 2 Liverpool. I mean, if you've only got 2 Liverpool, and in any case, yeah, just go Firmino. James Bang, I'm watching from South Korea, the land of the Heung-min Sun. He didn't say Heung-min, but I did. Great. We all love you out there, James. I'm sure Sonny loves you too. Carmeli, 2006, Son and Aguero for Mane and Alba for the next 2. Well, we don't really know where we stand with Sadio Mane, do we? So it's got to be the other one, unfortunately. Not that you know if Aguero is going to play this weekend. Jeff McGregor, Mahrez or Son or even Bergwijn. Not Bergwijn. We'd need more information. God, Jeff, you're not sure of the question, are you? Don't mind, no, mate. It's fine. Personal preference with Sterling's injury would be Mahrez, but with a planned escape route. Brandon Medrano, would you do Grealish to Mahrez as a 1-week punt? I've got the exact money in the bank. No, I wouldn't. Brendan01, thanks for the answer. Much appreciated. And I believe we are probably up to date on the live chat. So, guys, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. It's an hour and 20 odd minutes. So I think that's enough of me banging on. Any specific questions I'm not going around to, if I missed for whatever reason, by all means, hit me up on Twitter at Planet FPL Pod. If you need any advice, just give us a tweet. Not a problem at all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday with a people's poll, which may well be about Lionel Messi now, but there will be some other good options as well, which is really important, from a meeting that the new Premier League chairman had earlier this week. There's a couple of things I picked out there, which also go into the people's poll. That will go out on Twitter. The people's poll always goes out on Twitter basically straight after the final game on Sundays. It's normally about 6:30 p.m. UK time. It's only open for 3 hours. The reason for that is me and Suj need to know what we're waking up talking about the next morning. So that'll obviously go out on Twitter. We'll be back then. Main podcast Monday night. We'll review the 4 games from this weekend. It's going to be an interesting one. If I can give you one tip from this game week, watch as much football as you possibly can. There is a possibility here to get an eye test on all 10 teams, all 10 games, all 20 teams. You know what I mean? Do it if you can. That's invaluable. I'm a big eye test fan, as most of you will know. So anyway, have a great weekend. Good luck. Make your team your team. Make the transfers that you like. Pick the guy that you want to captain. Have a great weekend. And ciao for now, guys.